This actually happened to me in the bowling alley in Woodbridge. I got so into it. I was all in. Got my own vibe going. Everything was going phenomenal. I was making highlight reel strikes. Shots I was posting on Instagram. Then all of a sudden, boom! Manager comes out. So even at this current gym, I probably violated multiple codes of conduct. Being unfamiliar with the codes of conduct myself, just coming over with the gym, just being so busy. But if they would, instead of just a park you, if they gave you a small quiz, just to make sure, check on your mindset, and they could correct any errors. I'm not a hater of codes of conduct. I'm just once I get into something, I value long-term relationships. So if I get into the groove, get hot into something, I just don't want to disappear for 20 years. And come back and have to, after multiple years. So, I like to keep the momentum moving. Just a reminder, if you're switching from Good Life to a more recreational, community-based gym, you might see a little more, exposure in the locker room area. So if you're not used to this, it could be stunning at times. So, you could walk with your head down, or not. I'm not sure if it's me or if the locker room and the community gyms are more compact, but it seems like people are more, liable to remove completely all their clothing in a recreational type facility, as opposed to a more commercial gym like Good Life. If you're lifting weights to essentially, from my evaluation, if you recreational type gyms, they're more nudist type. A commercial like a Good Life is more like PG in the locker room area. So, if they have dividers in the locker room for the nudists and non-nudists. So if you're not into nudity, or nudity is not your thing, or you're uncomfortable with your own nudity or other people's nudity, maybe a gym like Good Life might be better for you. But if it doesn't bother you, or if you could block it out and just focus on working out, and it doesn't stagger you emotionally or whatnot. So, my evaluations is far less nudity in the locker rooms in Good Life. I think they kind of have like a kind of like a unwritten code of more nude areas to the right and less nude is to the other. It could be a Good Life. The people that do get completely nude in the locker room seem to, to save money on, the ones that take showers, assimilate to the lockers close to the shower area. So if you keep to the back row, farther away from the showers. Just saying, a buddy from the gym, being younger, I used to have problems with excess use of toilet paper clogging the toilets, because I don't think I was properly taught how to wipe. So and it wasn't until recently I learned, the back to front method, or the front to back. So right now I'm incorporating a little bit of both. I guess it wasn't until my days in Apotex, I just got frustrated with going back to front and just continually coming up with brown, and it's making the brown disappear was just literally impossible. I used to get up and dampen the squares and come back, but then people made such big deal about it. So it literally took me about 6 or 7 sessions of wiping from back to front to come up clear white and eradicate all brown. Now I'm finding with 4 applications, a combination of back to front and front to back, you could erase. So I guess my main concern about going front to back is actually getting brown, or as they say, doo-doo on your sleeve. Because if you get doo-doo on your sleeve, man, and then I guess they're forcing you to roll your sleeve up while you're eating. But at least I know the possibility of having fecal matter. So I guess we have people saying, "Hey V, like, how do you speak on topics with a straight face, and as you do, I guess it's a tolerance level for shame or humiliation, or stuff like this, But I learned, later in life, it's better to get your emotions out instead of. Also, I appreciate people being patient with me coming over for Good Life with pretty much anything goes into the community center. Also, people who are used to taking the bus are not used to advanced technology and cell phones and video making. People who aren't familiar with rules of the road, or the distracted driver's law or whatnot. So I appreciate the. I think also some people feel you know, if you have increased number of hairs on your head, you're able to say and do more things. Or get away with more things, so to say, because if you too outlandish and you have less hair in your head, people just say you're bald, and you know, then you have to, you know, shut them. You know, if you're bald, you have your head shaved or whatnot, and you know, you're trying to increase your capacitance, you know, and someone says, you know, shut up, bald guy. Like, how do you debate a guy with more hair, you know, calling you bald? You say, how can you prove that you're better or your point's more valid than a guy? I mean, you can't really over-validate your point in comparison to a guy with more hair, because the guy with more hair can just say, I got more hair, so that means my point should have bigger impact or whatnot. You know, so typically when you're working yourself on the Jacobs, so if your friend, you know, says tie goes to the guy with more hair, but is that counting the hairs that go on your scrotum or testicle or whatnot, or your legs or your chest or your back or your underarms, or, you know, inside your ears or belly button, eyebrows, nose. So if we had some type of hair scanner, or if they mean tie goes to the winner with the more hair on the top, on the scalp, then I guess, you know. So I also forgot, you know, the butt hairs inside the butt cheeks. But you know, even on your, so if you want to put your hair on the counter, so we could count up the numbers of hairs to see who wins. You know, if you're willing to go Tom Green for it, and you know, shave out all your hair so it could be easily more counted, and then you know, it will grow back. You know, it's summertime, so if you want to get. Some people even lose leg hairs later on in life, so I don't know if this is to wearing higher socks or whatnot. So if it's a competition of who has the most hairs, so if you want to preserve your hairs, you know, you can say your prayers, eat your vitamins, drink a lot of water, you know, use biotin or something like this, or they have this thing called, you know, some people who might be more familiar with the codes of conduct of the gym, you know, if you think you just jump on people and just pop up with your code of conduct leverage on a person, at least have a citation app, or you know, give me a citation so I can at least read instead of leaving me guessing and wondering like what the. I think there's one case in Europe too where you know, companies are getting sued for the codes of conduct being biased or gender or racial biased or whatnot, catered to benefit specific groups of people or denominations. So this could be brought into, effectively using this as precedence. The more codes of conduct you have, if the bias generated to benefit specific people, it increases your chance of being sued and having your company go belly up. So even if you've been consulting a lawyer or not, sometimes lawyers aren't the smartest people to consult in such matters. Because you know, man, just going from the track record, they continually mess up and make mistakes. So as they mess up and make mistakes, public opinion sways, mindsets change. You know, the consciousness levels of people, you know, elevates or diminishes or decreases. So things change, man. So a law that might make sense today might not make so much sense tomorrow. Or, you know, you might look back and look at the way you're behaving in, you know, in 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 60 years, 70 years from now. You might be looking back like, damn, what an idiot, you know. So my advice to the generation coming up, man, if you make decisions in the now for today, think about how they're going to look 20, 50, 60, 70 years, or even after you die, man, because, you know, that's a better snapshot of the success of your decision, if it made sense or not. Quick decisions you made to get the fastest result, or the quickest benefit, or the quickest dollar or dime or nickel in your bank account, they might not look so good a week from now, or even years from now. So it's better not to be make your decisions under pressure or pressured base. So or in a haste, rather, is what you know. So if you're feeling pressured to make a decision, always seek solace, the quiet place to reflect before you make that decision. Don't ever be pressured, by another individual unless you revisit it later for full event. Like this accountant that was doing my taxes a couple days ago, she was pressuring me to sign a document, without even reviewing it. But I'm like, yo, calm down. I just had a long drive and a stressful through traffic. At least let me. She didn't even give me a checklist of things, and then I realized, damn, my TD Water. So Juicy J or Katy Perry or not, I forget who the singer of this song, but she's saying, take me down like a domino. If you think of a domino piece or a domino pizza slice, man. So if she wants to be eaten up, if she's asking you to go down on her in a peculiar manner. So not really sure, but. So I was in the game workshop you saw from the video posted earlier. So he's saying him having a YouTube channel for his store as well. He said you could take shots of the product, but not of customers. I'm like, he's just trying to reiterate, we want you to endorse products, not people. Or here, there's the cover of Steve Pearce on the cover of Sports Illustrated, World Series champion, former Blue Jay. And also there's rumors in the league that the rest of the American teams are colluding to exclude Toronto from Major League Baseball, inflating contracts over the beer tosser in the outfield in the playoffs from previous seasons. Yes, in fact, this was a shame to the nation across the constipation with or without ovations of this man throwing beer in the playoffs. It's America's pastime, man. You talk about wearing a baseball cap backwards and defiling the pastime. How about throwing a beer at an American player? I meant across the constipation of every occupation. If you're an occupational specialist or not, if you know the NOC code, I apologize on behalf of all of Canada for the behavior of this fan in the outfield. Ontarians, we could hardly afford to spend $400 million on Austin Matthews. Not alone, if we're talking Vlad Guerrero's agents already asking $1 billion and upwards of $100 million a season, beer prices are going to go. See, I don't want to have to pay $100 for a king can of Bud Light at the Rogers Center. And I don't want to have to pay $2.3 million for season tickets in the 500 level to accommodate the rising salary. So I guess if that means we're no longer having a Major League Baseball franchise in Toronto, I guess if it would help baseball thrive in Toronto, maybe I would be willing to pay $100 for a king can of beer at the Rogers Center or $2.3 million for season tickets. But as long as I can get those seats in, maybe 119 A, B, or C front row along the out. I meant the seats. I meant the seats 127 to 130, either 130 A, B, or C, row 1. Left or right side, preferably A, 130. If you want me to pay that premium price for season seats, at least so I could communicate ideas with players. So I guess as long as they keep the price of a double at a reasonable rate, $100 for a king can of beer, to accommodate paying Cito Gaston, whoever the next manager is, if he needs a $400 million a year contract to support his other hobbies that he's taking time away from. Even if they charge $250 or $500 for a king can of beer at Rogers Center, at least it would force people, to be more able to enjoy a can of beer instead of just having a chug test and seeing who could crush the can on their forehead or whatnot. So maybe increase, less is best in the sense. Usually they charge $1,500 to $2,000 for a king can of beer at Rogers Center at Jays games. If they offered some other incentive, like maybe a scratch and win ticket or something, to give people hope and validate the price, if this could help pay rising costs or keep the lease. Even if they charge $50,000 or $100,000 or $250,000 for a king can of beer at Rogers Center for Jays games, in the playoffs, if they charge $1 million for a king can of beer in the playoffs, it might make a person. So at least if someone wants to throw a can of beer at a player in the playoffs, they might think. So instead of making us lose a franchise in Toronto, if we could charge $1 million for a king can of beer in the playoffs, So in case a fan accidentally throws the beer at a ball player, say outfielder, that $1 million should go to the player's compensation.